All right, what's going on, chat? Today we're going to be playing some Viktor mid-range. We're doing a lot of testing to see whether we can improve the deck and improve our gameplay. There's a lot of work to do here. So we will be going with these three battlefields today. Trifarian War Camp, Arena's Greatest, and Obelisk of Power. We're more often than not looking at Arena's Greatest in Game 1, but not always. Obelisk of Power if we're going first, or Trifarian War Camp if we're going second. It really depends on the matchups. I think sometimes you might want to even go play the Obelisk, and when your opponent was trying to go first. Like for example, one of the problems with Sett is that if you go first with Obelisk of Power, they're going to start with 4 runes in their first turn and play 2 2-drops because their decks usually play 12 2-drops, and their 2-drops will be better than your turn 1 2-drop and recruit. So that's where you start to run into problems. You really need to think about that a little bit. And this is what the list looks like today. We're playing 2 retreats in the main board, and our 2-drops look like Student, 3 Poro, 3 Scout. We're back to 3 smoke screens. We are going down Vanguard Captains and Faithful Manufacturers for Shen. This one I'm still not sure about exactly. A lot of the times the Faithful Manufacturers, I'm left thinking that I would have rather had a 2-drop and just play a recruit with it instead of spending 4 energy to make a recruit and use my ability. Because a lot of the times it seems like you kind of just want runes up for retreat, stupefy, smokescreen. There's just a lot of things that you'd be happy to cast. Even Hidden Blade. There are a lot of things that you'd just be happy to play on your opponent's turn. So this list is a little bit more like play, keep developing and play small stuff and hold up interaction so that you're not just dead on your opponent's turn to whatever it is that they do. And we are playing 1 Riptide Rex and 1 Stratagem, 3 Singularity, 3 Watcher. These ratios are a little interesting. We are definitely working on how much top end we need to be playing. And the sideboard looks like this: a 2nd Stratagem for decks that go big. We need to just go bigger. And 3 Leona for Master Yeast, 3 Siphon Power. We're also still testing this out because we need to figure out the mirror match, and sometimes we just want some more fight on the board. So yeah, Siphon Power could be good. Still in testing, and this is especially strong on Trifarian War Camp because their stuff is going to lose the War Camp's bonus, while my stuff can keep the bonus and get this bonus. And sometimes this can take you out of range of certain damage-based removal, but that's probably a little less important. And we're also just keeping this retreat in here. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys want to see me play other decks or see any interesting ideas for Viktor. And here we go. So today we will continue with adding a voiceover commentary to the video instead of live dialogue like we were doing before. Let me know in the comments if you guys like this style of content or if we should just go back. And I think this is more informative, but just let me know and we'll figure it out. So we're gonna be choosing our first battlefield here. Some things to think about are we are playing against Sett, so we need to consider what battlefield we want for going first and second. Since we don't know, I think we will be choosing Arena's Greatest. The problem with Obelisk is that if you go first and your opponent and Sett goes second, they can play 2/2 drops because they start with 4, and that could be very dangerous for you if you don't have the removal. Arena's Greatest seems like the least dangerous in a game 1 situation. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree or disagree, but that's what I was basing my decision on. So the opponent will be going first here, and we will be thinking about this hand. This hand looks fine. Watcher maybe can go. We are going second, so we'll be starting with 3. Yeah, so we're just gonna keep this hand. Opponent plays a Cytherea, passes the turn. Cytherea is probably the best thing they can do because they have played Hirana Monastery as the first battlefield. So when you conquer, you can spend a buff from anywhere to draw a card, and Cytherea just makes a tremendous amount of buffs. So that can prove very problematic, and it is probably going to get out of control, as you will see shortly. So now the opponent plays a Poro, and the Cytherea will make a buff here. And they send the Cytherea to the Hirana Monastery, scoring a point and removing the buff that they created to draw a card. They will now play Pit Rookie to add a buff to their Poro and base, and Cytherea will make another buff and pass the turn. So there's 2 might on the Monastery. We probably want to look at going to 2 points, maybe 3. Because the opponent is at 2. They are currently winning the race and at an even number breakpoint, so that's very beneficial. So we will just play a Sprite Mother and send the Sprite in to get a Cytherea and score a point. Because they have a Daring Poro in the back, we want to... they have a Daring Poro with a buff, so that attacks for 4 might, and our Sprite on the Hirana Monastery only has 3 might, so we do want to add a little bit of might on that board. And we will send in our recruit in base as well for a 3rd point on Arena's Greatest, and that will allow us to, maybe take back that point at some future time if they send in the Pit Rookie. So we'll see how they go ahead and spread out their attacks here. So the opponent plays another Cytherea, and they play a Trefarian Glory Seeker, so that will get its Legion ability to create a buff, and both Cythereas will make a buff. I had failed to mention that the Cytherea that we attacked was saved with Sett ability. By spending a rune, they can spend a buff and save a creature that was going to die. So the opponent will send the Pit Rookie to our Sprite and Recruit so that they can trade that Pookie for our Recruit, and now their Daring Poro will be able to attack for 4 and get that Sprite. So opponent will be at 3 points, and they will send in one of their Cythereas to be at 4 points, and they use a buff on one of the Cythereas to draw a card when they conquer the Hirana Monastery. Looking very good for the opponent here. So we're thinking about how the opponent can play Sett and Showstopper for 9 might, attack into a board for 9 might, because that line only takes 6 total runes and recycling 2. That could prove like a problem. And both of the units on the battlefields here can be saved with the Sett because they both of the opponent's units have a buff on it, and they have a Trefarian Glory Seeker at home with a buff. So we are trying to see what we can do about whether an opponent plays a Call to Glory or not. We can start here with a Singularity or just play Viktor and try and mitigate the losses if they do have that Call to Glory. So we will start with playing Viktor and just seeing if they have the Call to Glory. So they do not have the Call to Glory. We send the Sprite Mother to the Cytherea, and the opponent will not save the Cytherea, and we will score a point there. We are at 4 points. So something to think about is that because we are at 4 points and our opponent is at 4 points, we don't need to be too aggressive here. So opponent will get their 5th point from holding, and since they got a point from holding the Hirana Monastery, they will not be able to use that to draw a card this turn. Opponent does have 5 cards in hand though, so this could prove very bad for us. The opponent will play a Sett from their chosen champion zone, and their Cytherea will make a buff because of the Sett that came into play. The opponent will send the Trifarian Glory Seeker to the Arena's Greatest where our Sprite Mother is, and they will trade. But the opponent will save that Glory Seeker with the Sett ability, and they will send in their Cytherea here with a buff on it, and they will go to 6 points. And because they conquer the Sett, will untap so that its ability can be used again. And opponent will sabotage here, which is a very backbreaking, near game ending, because that is our singularity will now be gone here, and we will be left with a Watcher, so that's a possibility for us. So for turn, we've drawn a Noxian Drummer, and we are at 4 points to our opponent's 6 points. So if we are able to stop our opponent from double conquering next turn, that is probably our best chance, though that is not that good of a chance because the opponent probably has a lot to work with. You know, Sett is a deck that's very good at conquering, and Viktor is not the best deck for holding. We have a lot of good ways to conquer and a lot of ways to create card economy with our legend ability, but holding is very hit or miss. So we will send our Poro into the Cytherea here, and it will attack for 3 might versus their 2 might, and the opponent will let the Cytherea die. We will go to 5 might here, and we are at the point where we need to just see if the opponent has the Call to Glory, because we'll lose either way. So we will be sending in Viktor to attack the Daring Poro here. The Daring Poro having 3 might on defense, and the opponent will save the Poro here using Sett's ability. Oh, nope, that's not true. The opponent will allow the Poro to die because they want to keep the Sett that is in their base. So we will be at 6 points to our opponent's 6 points. Our opponent is going into 6. The opponent knows about Sett. The opponent knows about Shen, but the only card in our hand that the opponent does not know about is the Noxian Drummer. So we are probably at the point where we just need to make sure the opponent can't double take next turn, and we have a shot with Watcher. So Shen is very good on defense, right? We're probably going to end up playing Shen in some capacity. So something we can do is send a recruit to the Poro to stop the Trifarian Glory Seeker from trading with it. So what we're going to do here, we have 7 runes. We're going to spend 3 of them to play the drummer in our hand that they don't know about to the Hirana Monastery with Viktor, and send that recruit in our base to help our Daring Poro defend that battlefield. We will we will create a recruit with Viktor and probably leave this we're gonna go ahead and leave this Ravenbloom student at home, because we are probably gonna have to look at a double conquer situation next turn using the Watcher. That could be wrong. I could see it being wrong, but at least now Shen and the Hirana Monastery units cannot quite just lose to Showstopper with Sett. But now the opponent has done something crazy. They've crazy good for them. They've played a Kinku Monk, so they use Sett's. They use Orange Sett's unit's ability to go to 8 might by spending the buff, and they use Kinku Monk to add a buff to it, and then they spend the buff again. That will put them to 12 might, and now we need to try and see what exactly we can do about this, because if we put Shen on the board, because their 12 might Sett is attacking into our board with 8 might, so we play Shen onto that board. Now we will be 13 might. Oh, yep, this is very good for the opponent. So before we go to the damage, we will have opponent will challenge. They will have their Kinku might fight our drummer. We will make a recruit in the base, but they will win that combat. So they go to 7 points here. And because we have our Daring Poro with our recruit, the opponent is not able to double conquer this turn. But they will just trade with us and save their Treferen Glory Seeker. So the opponent has a Sett with a buff on it that has 5 might on it. And when it conquers, it does put a buff on itself. So now we just go for a double conquer here. We have 8 runes. We go for a double conquer with Watcher, and that should be the game here. Yep. So we accelerate Watcher. Opponent's Sett will go to 2 might, and they don't have 2 buff. They only have 1 buff here, so they are not even able to save it with Call to Glory. They have no runes available, and we will send our recruit to the other arena's greatest, and we will barely win that game. It was a very close game. Opponent was first to get to 6, which usually leaves you in a very tough spot. But if you can keep them from double conquering, that is probably like the only way you can end up winning. When we were able to do that, so good for us here. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at our sideboard. We're thinking about whether we want Leona's. We definitely want this Grand Stratagem, and we want to remove the retreats from our deck. So we're gonna be taking out our Noxian drummers and replacing them with Leona's, and I think we want some Grand Stratagem. Let's see exactly how this goes. Our battlefield will be Obelisk of Power versus their Windswept Hillock. So Obelisk of Power, the player starts with both players start with an additional rune, and Windswept Hillock units there have ganking, which is very good with Sett and Kiana, which you will find out soon. So we're gonna go ahead and mulligan 2 here and keep our Cull and Stupefy, and we will find a Poro and a Soaring Scout. Opponent has opted to go first here. They will play a Pookie and pass. So now we're considering how we want to play out the turn 1. I think we should be fine with just playing 2/2 drops here. So we do have the option to Cull, but it seems like a very weak Cull. We can probably use this Poro here to take back whatever battlefield they choose to go on with that Pookie. Yep, so we're gonna go ahead and play a Soaring Scout and a Poro. Opponent moves their Pookie to the Obelisk of Power and scores their first point, plays Kiana in the base. And they will showstopper the Kiana into the Hillock, which is very problematic because now that it has a buff, it can be protected and it is at 5 power. They're going to use Kiana to channel a rune and draw a card. So this Kiana now has ways to protect itself and it can have ganking. So it can just move to the next battlefield and take that. We have a few options. We can go for that Pookie there and call. We do have 6 runes today. We can send in. We can use Sprite Mother to create a Sprite and send the Sprite and the Poro to attack the Kiana. But the biggest problem with that is if they have Call to Glory. It's always a problem with playing against Sett. So if they Call to Glory, that will be 7 might. And we have 7 might, but we would lose our entire board. And they would lose Kiana, which is not awful, but yeah. They're probably just going to end up eating 2 units. It's a bad situation for us no matter what we do here. We can also just play Viktor and see what happens, but that seems okay. We're gonna send the Sprite to the Pit Rookie, score our first point, and make a recruit in base. Opponent will use ganking with Kiana to score a point and to draw a card, getting rid of our Sprite token. And opponent will sabotage, and this is probably the end of the road for us. And they will choose Call the Weak here, I'm pretty sure. Yes, opponent chooses Call the Weak with their sabotage, recycling it to the bottom. And they play a Sett from their chosen champion zone and pass the turn. So we draw a Soaring Scout, which is very bad for us. So we're gonna go ahead and play Viktor here and look for some trades. This might be our best chance. So we're gonna send the Sprite Mother and the Daring Poro to Kiana on the Obelisk, and the opponent will go ahead and trade for the Sprite Mother. And they will save their Kiana. When Sprite Mother dies, we will get a recruit in the base. We're going to go ahead and send the Soaring Scout to the Windswept Hillock and play a Soaring Scout in base. And play a recruit using Viktor Legend ability and pass the turn. So opponent will send their saved Kiana to the Windswept Hillock and draw a card and play a first mate to ready the Kiana and to take the Obelisk of Power from us, and that will put them at 6 points. And this situation looks pretty irrecoverable. They will play a Pit Rookie from their hand, giving Kiana a buff, so that will also allow them to save the Kiana. While we have a lot of recruits in the base, this does not look like a situation where we can prevent them from double conquering next turn, because they will have very extra large Sett here along with Kiana, and that is a very big problem for us. Yeah, they've got more than enough might, and Stupefy will not be enough to save us there. So we're going to go ahead and go to game 3 here. So we're going to go ahead and look at our sideboard here. We probably want to think about putting in these stratagems. Something to think about is that our last battlefield will be Trefarian War Camp, so the cards that we're going to be putting in should be good with that. As we were saying earlier, Absorb could be good. Retreat doesn't seem that good. Let's see what else we take out. Leonas probably are too slow here. Or not really for this matchup, frankly. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and go down one Shen, it looks like. And yeah, we're just... we'll leave the Shen in. We'll go down a Leona again here, I believe. Let's see. Let's go ahead and see the final outcome here. Yeah, we're just playing towards Trofarian War Camp, so we do want the drummers back in the deck for sure. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take out a Sprite Mother because it seemed very slow in this matchup, but not totally useless or anything. We'll also be removing Leonas, and that should be it for the changes. And our last battlefield, as we were saying, is Trofarian War Camp. So this sideboard is tailored to winning that. Opponent will be playing with Obelisk of Power, which is very concerning for us. I think we want to just go second. Yeah, we're gonna end up going second here because I'm not ready to play against 2/2 drops on their turn 1 after playing a 2-drop and a 1-drop. Oh boy. So we're gonna go ahead and send back 2 cards, and we get back we mulligan into a Siphon Strength and a Smoke Screen, which is not the best, but also not the worst. The opponent's turn 1 will be a first mate, which may mean that they're short on 2s, but not necessarily. So we do have 4 runes to begin. Here is a Sprite Mother. We can try and use Sprite Mother to take them off of the War Camp, which we are going to do. So we go to 1 point and pass the turn back to the opponent. The opponent will play Kiana. Pretty good. And the opponent will Showstopper, which is pretty crazy. Pretty good play there. So the opponent will go ahead and take an Obelisk of Power and channel a rune to the base. And our Sprite will die. We've drawn another Smoke Screen, which is not the best draw for us, but we'll have to figure out how to make it work. We're going to go ahead and send the Sprite Mother to the Trofarian War Camp, and we will get a point. We'll also play a Daring Poro to the base and hold up, play a Recruit to the War Camp so that they can't take that with the first mate by itself. Or I mean they could, but let's see what they do. So we do have 6 might on the Trofarian War Camp. And what this does is it makes it so that Kiana can't Showstopper back home into taking the Trofarian War Camp. So opponent will put their first mate onto the Obelisk of Power and send Kiana back home. And they will be playing a second Kiana here, and they have 3 cards in hand. They will be playing a Trofarian Glory Seeker and playing a buff. So going to our turn. So we are at 3 points to opponent's 2 points. They have a very good chance to catch up, but this is not the best situation for us. We have 7 runes available. We can Singularity here, but the Singularity is not that good, honestly. Yeah, because with Singularity, if we target Kiana's, we will need to play Deflect costs. So we're going to go ahead and send our Poro to the Obelisk of Power and Smokescreen that first mate, take our 4th point. Now we're probably just going to play very defensively here. We're going to go ahead and just play a recruit, and that recruit should be on the war camp, but let's see. Yep. So we go ahead and play our recruit to the war camp, and we'll pass the turn back to our opponent with a Smokescreen and a Siphon Power in the hand, or Siphon Strength in the hand. It is called Siphon Power. There we go. So some of the attacks will be awkward from the opponent here. They probably cannot take that war camp from us. We're doing an okay job. If we can make it so that opponent can't score this turn, it'll be very good for us. So the opponent is sending a Kiana by itself to the Obelisk of Power. So we're going to go ahead and Smokescreen here, and we will need to pay the deflect cost. So we send 2 runes back, including 1 blue rune, and the Kiana will be at 1. Will be at 1 might. So very interesting. The opponent plays Call to Glory, spending the rune, or excuse me, sending the buff on the Trefarian Glory Seeker. Now we need to, okay. So we could have traded using the Siphon Power, but we decided not to, so the opponent will go to 3 points. Opponent will have Sabotage here, and we could Siphon Power before the Sabotage resolves because it is a reaction, but I don't think we're going to opt to do so. So we will show the opponent our hand from the Sabotage. They will be able to decide from sending Singularity to the bottom or the Siphon Power to the bottom. The opponent decides to send Singularity to the bottom of our deck, and we have a Siphon Power here. I do remember this is probably a poor decision to make, but we do make it because we use the Siphon Power to do not that much. You'll see in a moment here. So the opponent plays their Sett in the base, the orange Sett from the Chosen Champion Zone. It will give itself a buff. Opponent does have 1 rune available. Opponent will send their 5 might to the war camp, making it 6 might. We will go ahead and play Siphon Power here, which is probably an error, but that's all right. Yeah, so that way we end up having 1 extra recruit, which is hit or miss whether that's good or not. We're gonna go ahead and send our recruits back, and we're just gonna go ahead and play out our hand here because we need to play units. This is not looking very good because we are at 5 points, the opponent's 4 points. I guess it's not that bad either. We were able to stop the opponent from getting 2 points last turn, which is what we wanted in the first place, right? So the opponent goes from 3 points to 4 points by holding a battlefield. They're going to go ahead and get 2 more buffs with using a Kinku Monk, which is very bad for us. But we do have a point lead on the opponent, which is something that is a helpful. So opponent will play Trefarian Glory Seeker. So opponent will play Kiana here to the Trefarian War Camp. Kiana with the buff. They're gonna go ahead and draw a card here, and they'll play a Trefarian Glory Seeker and pass the turn. Opponent is at 5 points. So we do know that they can't win next turn, but we will probably be able to win next turn because we have top decked a Grand Stratagem. So we're going to go ahead and use Viktor Legend ability to make a recruit And we will also play the Viktor from our chosen champion zone. We are in a very good position to win because we have made 6 points before our opponent here. So the opponent will go to 6 points from holding. They will send their Kiana home that was on the war camp. They will ready their Kiana that was sent home. Opponent will send 2 Kianas to the Obelisk of Power, so when they conquer, they will both get their ability to draw a card. So they both opponent will go to 7 and draw 2, which is a very strong play here. Opponent has 7 runes to work with, which is quite a lot for Sett. They have lots of options, but they still will need to beat us through Grand Stratagem. So the opponent is putting as many units as they are able to onto this board here. And the Kinku Monk will also create 2 buffs. Yeah, I don't think there's supposed to be... I think it was an accident. It looks like it was an accident. They were not supposed to be able to move that first mate over here. Yeah, we did not catch it, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and take our turn here. So we have 8 runes. And we have Grand Stratagem. It's if we can double score, we will win this game. So we will send 1 recruit to the war camp. We're gonna go ahead and stupefy the Sett just to see if we can draw another stupefy at this point. So we've drawn a Watcher. We're gonna go ahead and see if this changes any math. So it looks like Grand Stratagem is more. Here we are doing the math. There's a lot of units on the board. I have Watcher, I have Stratagem. I need to decide which one I'm going to do. The opponent has no runes available, but they have a lot of buffs. And they have many cards in the hand. They have, I believe it's 4 cards in the hand. So they could have a Call to Glory, which could change the math a lot. But yeah, if we take it, we take it, right? So the problem with Watcher here is that the opponent has 2 units here that are less than 3 power or 3 power or less. So that means we're not going to get full value off the Watcher, and it will come unaccelerated. So we are taking out the calculator to verify that we do have the might correctly calculated here. So we're just adding 4 plus 5 plus 2 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 because the Sett plus 5 with a Kiana, and then plus 4 with Sett because it was stupefied, and then plus 5 here with the Kiana, and we're adding that up to 32. So very good. Don't forget to bring your calculators to your locals to make sure nobody fumbles the math, especially with these complicated boards. Shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh players. We've been doing that for the last 20 years. So now we're going to be doing the math to see whether Watcher is better and Stratagem is better. It's almost surely certain that Stratagem is better, but we're just going to go through the motions as you should in a situation. So we find out that Watcher is going to... Opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8 units, and they have some units that can't get the full minus from the Watcher, 2 units that we discussed. So Watcher's gonna actually reduce their might by 24, but Stratagem will increase our might by 25. And our Watcher, as a bonus, our Watcher is not going to be able to not going to be able to come out accelerated. So if we use stratagem, the Raven Bloom student will also gain 1 might by doing that. So we are calculating that playing a stratagem will be 36 might here versus their 32 might, and they would need 2 Call to Glories to take to be able to win that exchange. Well, they would need 2 Call to Glories to be able to go exactly even. Yeah, so we're checking everything. Yeah, we do have 7 only because we drew the Watcher off the Stupefy. So we're gonna go ahead and just verify all the math. We're gonna grant stratagem here, and we will be just sending everything in here. So our Raven Bloom student will be at 4 before the sure. We'll gain 1 might with the stratagem. So it'll be 6, and then it'll be 9, and 6, 6, and then 9. So 18 plus 18, 36. Yep. And then that'll be the game. Yeah, these games were very close. Opponent is at 7 points. If they hold, which they easily can, then they will win. But if I have the answer, I have the answer at that point. Game 1 and 3 shows you how close these matches can be, and there are a lot of decisions to be made. But yeah, thanks for the games. Go ahead and check out the deck list in the description of the comments, and go ahead and leave some comments if you guys have any critiques on the gameplay or ideas. Thank you. See you guys later.